Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, if you're in it for the long haul, Carnival stock was still a good idea. If you're in it for the short term, yesterday was a horrible day for you. We also had a person overboard on a cruise ship, as well as we have some good news, sort of, coming from the Bahamas about your next cruise. So in case you're wondering, you can tell I'm back in Canada trying to catch up on a lot of emails. I know a lot of people have some cruises they're requesting some info on it. I'll be working on that this week. So if you sent me an email looking for a cruise, it was hard to do in Mexico and Europe. Europe, no internet. Mexico, gala, ceremonies, obligations, meetings, trainings, you get the idea. But yeah, I'll be out in touch this week as well. But some news, if you were a Carnival Cruise stockholder, Carnival announced this week that, their third quarter profits are probably not going to hit what the estimates have been calling for, despite how many people they have on their ship and rising costs to get on those ships. They're actually going to not make the same profit they were expecting to make. Well, stock analysts did not like that too much, and stockholders, and the stock in one day dropped 11% in one day. 11%. Imagine that. Hey, you have $100,000 in the bank, and the next day you have $89,000 in the bank. Yeah, that's a big hit. Imagine that in the billions now. However, you got to remember that Carnival stock is still up over 80% year to date. Until yesterday. So it's still up if you bought earlier this year or at the end of last year. So it's not like it's a panic sale. They have been going up and up and up. They were the hot stock of the summer for cruise ships. So I imagine it's not going to affect their stock too much. They're claiming that the reason, even though tickets are up, and the amount of passengers going on their ships are up, and they've stopped making new cruise ships, the big problem is they have to bring on many more crew members, because as more people get on the ships, they need more crew members to tend to those passengers, plus the rising costs of everything else. And one of the big costs, marketing. They've really raised the cost of their own marketing right now to try and bring back the customers and bring on new customers, as the other cruise lines are having those flashy advertisements, come see our brand new ships. And Carnival is not bringing out any new ships in the near future. So yeah, that might have something to do with it as well. They're not in the news as much as some of the other lines who are bringing on, like the Icon of the Seas, or the Celebrity Ascent is coming out. We have the Viva coming out, etc., etc., etc. And Carnival doesn't have any new ships to announce for Carnival brand. They have new ships to announce for their, like Princess and Cunard, but not for the Carnival brand. But speaking of Carnival, they did something a lot of passengers are going to like. Both them, Carnival Cruise Line and Royal Caribbean Group, push back against the Bahamas. Now, the Bahamas had announced that, hey, they're looking to increase the taxes and costs per person coming to visit their ports. Also, if you were going into one of their cities and leaving from there, so it was a home port and your cruise was leaving and coming back to there, you were going to have an extra fee as well, just to be able to get off the plane and get to the ship. And then when you get off the ship to get to the plane, another fee. So basically it was going up about 27% to 50% depending on what you were doing. And the cruise line said, hey, wait a minute, you're raising your fees 27 to 50% in 1 year? What are you doing? We're building this great big new multi-$100 million park on your island in Nassau, and we spend all this money on your private islands, and we employ all these people, and you're pushing back like that. And the government came out and said, well, you know what, we're putting a hold on the tax increases until January of 2024. It was supposed to happen this month, coming up in July, and they've pushed it back now all the way till 2024, and who knows what can happen between here and there. All the government is saying is that they've put a hold on it right now to discuss the situation, because the cruise lines are such an important partner with the country. And it is. Cruising destinations and travel and tourism is basically the biggest income they have. And so if the cruise line starts saying, well, you know, if we can't go there, maybe we can go there instead. Or instead of home porting there, maybe we'll go and home port someplace else that won't charge those kind of fees to our customers and our passengers. A little bit of good news, a little bit of reprieve from more taxes. Yay! I'm glad of that. Next story, we have a woman goes overboard on a Royal Caribbean ship. But before I get there, let me just invite you to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. If you want to keep up to date with everything going on in cruising, from the cruise news stories to the taxes that might be coming your way, to the new ships coming online, to exotic destinations like the UK, Australia, Japan, and hopefully coming up in the near future, Galapagos Islands, Africa, Antarctica, all kinds of amazing places. I hope you'll join me here on the channel. We try and keep it light, we try and keep it fun, and but I will keep you, most importantly, informed about what's going on about your possible next cruise. Maybe even save you a little bit of hardship, a little bit of money, and a little bit of pain in the butt stuff that can happen on your cruise. Just hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost a thing, and I really do appreciate it. Okay, the Mariner of the Seas had a woman go overboard on the cruise ship. Luckily, it was seen and people called out. They immediately threw life buoys into the water, threw flares to mark the location. The cruise ship slammed on its brakes. They don't have brakes, they just have to shut the engine down and start turning. And then they launched the boats for the rescue. And the good news is, for a little while, you could actually see the tension on the boat from both the passengers and the crew as they knew what was happening. They heard the man overboard call, and they felt the ship stop and turn, and then they see the rescues. Everyone was watching for it, and luckily they did find the woman. She is alive. They brought her back, brought her into medical, kept her and her travel companions with the proper people. They have people on board who deal with stressful situations like that. And then when they got into port, she was seen being brought to an ambulance. Obviously, when somebody goes overboard and you don't know the whole details, was it on purpose? Was it an accident? Were you trying to take a picture and you fell overboard doing something silly? Were you just jumping for fun because you were dared? You know the situation. All kinds of crazy stuff happens for reasons that people get overboard. So they always get the person off the ship immediately at the very next port whenever possible. And luckily, this was prevented. Only about 25 to 28% of people who go overboard are ever rescued. And usually that is if you're seen and noticed right away. If it's in the middle of the night and no one sees you or hears you, that odds goes down to about 1%, which is very, very scary odds. But luckily, this woman is alive and safe, and I hope that it was just a silly mistake, and if it was something more serious, I hope she gets the care that she needs. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Till next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.